What would you do if your home and family were threatened by thirst, but the only solution seemed out of reach? Once upon a time, in the vast sun-scorched lands of ancient Somalia, there were two tribes named Harti and Eedor. These tribes were known far and wide for their strength, their pride, and their fierce warriors. But most of all, they were known for their endless quarrels. For 2 long years, the tribes had been locked in a bitter conflict over a stretch of dry, barren land called Folktale, the land of the shimmering sun. This land had no rivers, no trees, and no shade to offer, just sand and stones as far as the eye could see. But it was said that deep beneath its cracked surface, there lay hidden a spring of sweet water, a treasure so precious in that arid world. The elders of both tribes believed that whoever controlled Folktale would never suffer thirst again, for the water would bring life and prosperity. And so, day after day, the warriors of Harti and Eedor clashed in fierce battles under the scorching sun. Their spears and swords glittered in the sunlight, and their war cries echoed through the empty land like the howls of desert jackals. But no matter how many times they fought, neither tribe could claim victory. In the midst of their fighting, their cattle grew thin, their children cried from hunger, and their women grieved for the men lost in battle. But still, the leaders of Harti and Eedor were blinded by their thirst for power. They could not see the suffering of their people, for all they saw was the land they sought to conquer. One day, as the battle raged on, a wise old tortoise named Kirdun slowly made his way to the battlefield. Kirdun was known throughout the region for his ancient wisdom and gentle spirit. Wherever he went, peace seemed to follow. Seeing the tortoise's slow approach, the warriors paused in their fighting, for it was said that to harm Kirdun would bring a curse upon one's clan. The leaders of both tribes, Chief Guri of Harti and Chief Bile of Eedor, stepped forward, curious about what the old tortoise might say. "Why do you fight over this dry land, where nothing grows and no life can flourish?" asked Kirdun in a voice as deep and slow as the desert winds. Chief Guri pointed his spear at the ground and replied, "The land holds a hidden spring. If we can find it, our tribe will thrive." Chief Bile nodded in agreement. "Yes, the water is ours by right, and we will fight for it until the end of our days." The tortoise shook his head slowly. "You see only the land, but you do not see the wisdom of the earth. Fighting over this land will only bring you misery. The spring you seek is there, but it is not where you are looking." The chief scoffed at the tortoise's words, but Kirdun continued, "Let me tell you a tale older than any of your battles. Long ago, before your tribes existed, the land was ruled by a great drought. All the animals, from the mighty elephant to the tiny ant, were dying of thirst. They too searched for water, but they did not find it alone. It was only when they united, each digging with their claws, trunks, and beaks, that they reached the hidden spring. The warriors whispered among themselves, and for the first time in years, there was silence on the battlefield. The tortoise turned to face the two chiefs once more. "If you wish to find the spring, you must do as the animals did. You must unite, not as enemies, but as brothers." The chiefs were silent, contemplating the wisdom of the tortoise. Then, Chief Guri spoke up. "How can we trust those who have killed our kin? And how can we forget the blood they have spilled?" added Chief Bile. Kirdun sighed. "The desert forgets the footprints of those who walk upon it, and the sky forgets the cries of the storms that pass. If you wish to survive, you must learn to forgive as the desert and the sky do." Moved by the tortoise's words, the two chiefs agreed to try. They called their warriors to lay down their weapons, and together, the tribes of Harti and Eedor began to dig in the dry earth. Day and night they toiled, side by side, until their hands were blistered and their bodies weary. Just when they were about to give up, they struck something hard. With one last push, a gush of cool, sweet water burst forth from the ground. The tribes shouted in joy, dancing around the spring that had been hidden beneath their feet all along. From that day forward, the tribes of Harti and Eedor shared the land of Folktale, turning it into a thriving oasis. They built their homes around the spring, their cattle grew strong, and their children laughed as they played by the water's edge. As for Kirdun, the wise old tortoise, he slowly made his way back into the desert, leaving behind a land where peace had finally taken root. The story of Harti and Eedor teaches us that fighting over what we do not truly understand brings only suffering. It is through unity and forgiveness that we can uncover the hidden blessings that lie beneath the surface. For sometimes the treasure we seek is not found through force, but through the strength of working together. And so, the tale of Harti and Eedor was passed down through the generations, a reminder that even the driest land can bloom when hearts are united.